Hi and welcome again to the Roast Recap, a look back on the week that was. Now we know that not everyone is like Roastelman, the roast's venomous rattlesnake repairman, who downs tools every night at 8 PM just so he can enjoy the show. And that's why we've put together a special package of this week's essential stories. A week that saw media moguls striking each other in the street and Fairfax staff striking against their media moguls. As for me, I got in a punch up with Mark Fennell, but no one saw that or cared. Anyway, let's start with Mark Humphries and a collection of the week's headlines.
A new report on the sexual activity of Australian teenagers has found sexting is now a regular part of sexual relationships. Also still a part of sexual relationships, herpes. So keep it in your pants, school kids. According to the study of students from years 10 to 12, more than half have received an explicit text message. As for the rest, they didn't want one anyway, so shut up. Lead researcher Professor Anne Mitchell says it's just a part of a sexual relationship, part of courtship now. Though not all sexts are indicative of someone lusting after you. Hey Gavin, I think Kate likes me. She just sent me a picture of a naked penis. Romance, of course, has changed a lot over the years. Spare a thought for people in the 80s who had no choice but to do this. Additionally, the survey found that most sexually active students report positive feelings after having sex, though I suspect they're doing it wrong. They should be feeling deep shame. And older people have also been found to text explicit photos, though they're usually accompanied by the words, "Should I see a doctor about this?" Billionaire James Packer and Channel 9 boss David Gyngell engaged in a fist fight on the weekend. Sadly, there were 2 survivors. I expected better from Packer. I never thought a man who runs casinos would do anything to hurt another person. The brawl was filmed on Sunday, but like anything to do with Channel 9, it wasn't shown until much later. Let's take a look. James Packer floats like a butterfly, stings like a dugong. Gyngell escaped the fight unscathed, but Packer left with a black eye and also, if I'm not mistaken, a severely swollen chin. News Corp reportedly paid $200,000 for images of the brawl and published several heavily watermarked photos. I know whenever I pay $200,000 for something, I draw all over it with black texture. Among the other pictures released is this one, where you can clearly see a bodyguard going to great lengths to guard his own body. And Gyngell isn't the only network boss who's been in a brawl. If this photo is to be believed, ABC chairman Mark Scott was brutally clobbered by Miff Warhurst. Peter Costello, former treasurer and current prime minister in that parallel universe where Howard stepped aside, has come out against the Abbott government's proposed deficit levy.
The proposed tax levy has no economic benefit. It will detract from growth by reducing consumption.
Peter Costello there, delivering a surplus of scorn. The former treasurer expressed his opinion in a column in yesterday's Daily Telegraph. Not to be outdone, today's Telegraph features equally pressing financial advice: how to dress like a boganeer. The coalition has been on the back foot over the deficit levy, but government sources have cited Costello's own superannuation surcharge from 1996 as an example of how this type of tax could be effective. What do you say to that, Costello?
The surcharge was one of the worst things I ever did.
And that includes this. It's fair to say Mr. Abbott and Mr. Costello's relationship isn't what it used to be. No more open-mouth kisses from Tony. Get out of there, Howard! For the roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Well, earlier in the week, when Fairfax was still a functional media organisation, it reported on the North Sydney Forum, an organisation that allows you, for a fee, to eat lunch with Federal Treasurer Joe Hockey. Having Joe Hockey regurgitate his lunch into your mouth like you're Hockey's baby bird, though, well, that's an extra $15. Worth it? Nick Richardson's not so sure.
The forum costs up to $22 grand a year to become a member. The treasurer is sitting with you discussing important treasurer business, and no one has disclosed who you are or what you do. And the only people we know are members are all from the financial sector. So what Hockey should do to make the forum sound less like Wolf of Wall Street meets House of Cards is the complete opposite. Meetings should be free to enter and take place in public, like some sort of pancake in the park situation. The Federal Treasurer should meet anyone who wants to talk to him. And for those who couldn't make it, broadcast those chats out to the people whose lives will be affected by them. You know, everyone in the country.
Whew, that's a lot of views. I'll tell you what, if they monetise that video, it'd be a great way to get back to surplus. Certainly a less painful way than making poor students pay for it with higher university fees. Jazz Twemlow had more on what it means for those future povos. What does this mean for the current generation?
It means if you're young, then the last few days of news have just been like endless repeats of a show called Your Future is Going to Suck.
Oh, I don't like that show.
Yeah, no one does. But it wasn't always that way. In the 1970s, education was free, meaning that learning things wouldn't lump you with a one-person GFC, and you wouldn't have to ask yourself questions like, do I want to study biology today or nourish myself? But we couldn't have everyone rushing to university and knowing things, and so, due to increased participation rates, this free-for-all brain orgy came to an end with the introduction of HEX in 1989. They say knowledge is wealth, but try telling that to the debt collectors when you offer to pay with a series of interesting facts. Now, the Commission of Audit has suggested a higher contribution from students attending university, and any HEX debt would have to be paid off the moment you start earning minimum wage. A minimum wage which the very same Commission suggested be decreased from $622 per week to $488 per week, along with a retirement age set to increase to 70. There you go, Tom.
Thank you, Jazz. I don't want this.
So, just to recap for the future Oliver Twist kids, you'll probably be working earlier and later in life for less money to pay off more debt. But on the plus side, there might be a modest surplus.
Jazz, is there anything we could do?
Well, if you ask me, we should subsidise education with some of those large political party donations. But no one has asked me because I couldn't afford lunch with Joe Hockey.
Oh, I could, and I paid the extra $15. This week also saw the government consider new online anti-piracy measures, including geo-blocking websites and warning offenders with a 3 strikes rule. Just think, if baseball hadn't been invented, we'd only be allowed to commit crimes once. But hopefully these new laws will go some way to protecting Australia's great film industry.
I'm sorry, Tom, but no one is torrenting Red Dog, and if they are, then they've seriously misspelt orange as the new black. No, if the government is really worried about killing the Australian film industry, they should reject the Commission of Audit's recommendation to cut Screen Australia funding in half like it was a character in the Scandinavian drama The Bridge. We are a people with needs as simple as Hodor's dialogue, Tom. Just let us watch our stories and then talk about them on the internet. We just want to be part of a community. Thursday, 8 p.m. Central on NBC. And if there is one way to unite the complacent young people who can't be bothered to cock up a protest on Q&A, it's messing with our precious internet. I mean, you can threaten to increase university fees, you can make universal healthcare slightly less universal, you can even raise the retirement age and force us to work until we're 70. But if you so much as lay your Peter Baelish little finger on our internet freedom, I will spoil every show you have ever held dear, because I have watched them all before you. I am not our downloader, Brandis. I am the downloader. I am the one who knocks down your firewall like a house of cards. It's revenge.
Man, speaking of revenge, ahead of next week's budget, Finance Minister Matthias Cormann released a document that outlined the economic problems forcing them to drastically cut the spending. The 64-page document is called Labor's Mess, and it's really just the novelisation of an unaired Liberal attack ad.
Racing, no. Drive, not really interested. Labor's Mess. Press play.
Welcome to the reading guide for your propaganda document, Labor's Mess. First of all, wherever you are, turn off or dim your lights. Next, pick up the document and drop it on the table.
Oh, Jesus.
Next, look at that scary front page. Place 2 hands on the document at opposite corners, and upon the commencement of the eerie violin, rotate the document and move your head closer towards it. Now put your hand over your mouth and in a deep voice say, Labor's Mess.
Labor's Mess. Oh, God, that is terrifying. I'm going to move on.
To page 20 and take out your rubber stamper. Dip it in the flammable ink and stamp it on the page.
Right, that is it. I am definitely not voting Labour in the last election.
Yeah, you hear that, Rudd? Your days are numbered. Finally, Fairfax staff went on strike yesterday after it was revealed 80 jobs at the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age would be axed, which made for a pretty stressful day for Jaden, the work experience kid. We crossed to Alex Lee in an abandoned newsroom for this report on how traditional news media will have to adapt to what's popular online to survive. Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is, Tom. Print media is dying, and with it goes the tradition of investigative print journalism. If journalists want to stay employed, we're going to have to adapt to an online content model model that's working. And customers want that clickbait, titillating style of journalism. They want lists of 33 dogs who cannot even handle it right now.
This dog, he seriously can't even handle it.
So it's time for real journalists, like myself, to adapt to this new style.
Oh, what does that look like?
You will not even believe what it looks like.
Oh, tell me what it looks like, please.
If I told you, it could literally blow your mind.
Well, now I have to know. Please tell me just where to go click.
Well, get ready for this, Tom. What this triple Walkley award-winning Fairfax journalist said to management about the strike will change the way you think about journalism.
Yeah, that headline's a little too long. Can you tell it to me in a series of shareable GIFs?
Very well. Fairfax management are all like, ah, because the print industry has been... And so the worker is all like, I can't even right now. I am so outie.
Interesting. But is there some sort of quiz that could tell me which SAC staff member at Fairfax I am?
Oh, I cannot even handle this right now. I'm outie.
So I took the quiz. Turns out I was Hodor, although I'm pretty sure I took the wrong quiz. Good night. Hodor?